Hey guys, okay, today I want to introduce you to a book that I absolutely loved. I don't even remember where I first heard of it, but you know how there's so many self-help book out there. Sometimes it's just kind of like, okay, add it to the wish list, whatever, right? And then I was watching an interview with Miley Cyrus who mentioned that book, and I was like, and I started listening to it, and it's pretty intense, you guys. It's super mind bending, if you want to say that. I've also heard Will Smith say a few things that I was like, this is totally out of this book. So I absolutely love it, but it's not something that you talk about or think about every day. So when you don't think about it, you kind of just default back to not thinking about this stuff, and it's really helpful to think about it. So I'm gonna summarize chapter by chapter, make a video for each chapter, first of all for myself, because teaching it helps me remember, and it helps me really learn the material in depth. And I know that for some people having it broken down this way helps. So the book that I'm talking about is, I'm having a hell of a hard time to say, is Untethered Soul from Michael Singer. It is so good, you guys. But one thing I want to say before I get into it is the first time I listened to it, because I've listened to it multiple times, I could not listen to it very far. I think I got into like chapter 3 or 4 and I was like, this is too much. Like, it's like I needed my mind to have a break so that I can like digest what I had just heard and think about it. And it's like, so it didn't fully listen to the whole thing at first. It took me a while to get through it. So I just wanted to say, and this is not a replacement of the book either. I'm gonna go over what I thought was important, and then I strongly encourage that you go and get the book on Audible. You can get a 30-day free trial, whatever. But go listen to it. It's amazing. But for now, I'm just gonna do a summary because some people are busy, and or some people just won't take the time to actually go on Audible, or don't have the habits to actually listen to books. And I'm very grateful that I have some sort of habits and a sort of lifestyle that allows me to just listen to books. And so I'm very grateful for that. But I know that not everybody has the time, and sometimes YouTube is kind of like a form of entertainment, and why not turn that into some personal development, right? Okay, so I'm gonna get right into it. Part 1 is Awakening Consciousness, and the name of the first chapter is The Voices in Your Head. Before I get into the first chapter, basically the example that he gives is like, when you're trying to find what is true to yourself, the question is, which self are you talking about? Because there's multiple self. So he breaks it into 3 selves. Anyway, the id, which is a primal animal nature, the super ego, which is a judgment system that society has instilled in us, and the ego, which is a representative of the outside world, basically struggling to balance the id and the super ego. So basically, in the entire book, we'll explore the self, and we're gonna look at basically mirrors to see yourself from different angles. So we're gonna talk all about you and what resonates with you and feels true to yourself. You guys, you're about to, like, if you've never heard about this kind of stuff, you're about to be mind blown. So I'm pretty excited. Have you ever noticed that you have a mental dialogue? That you have a voice that never freaking shuts up? And if you're like, what are you talking about? There's a voice in my head. The voice that said, what are you talking about in your head, is the voice that we're talking about. Have you ever noticed that? Like, it never freaking shuts up. If you've actually never taken the time to think about this, take a few seconds and just listen. Listen to the voice in your head talking. What's it saying? It's crazy, because when you think about it, it never says anything Like sometimes it changes, it never really says anything that is meaningful. Like it could be like, oh, you're gonna be doing this, like you're crazy, like how come can you, like what are you doing? And then you start doing it and then you're like, oh my god, this is amazing, like you're doing freaking awesome. It just changed its mind in a flip of a dime. Like what? So now you're probably like, okay, I noticed the voice. I also noticed that it makes no sense. So why are you making me notice this? Because now I feel crazy and I don't know what to do about it. So the one thing that you can do that it's gonna free you from those voices, and we're gonna explore so much more about the voices in your head, but the one thing you can do is just step back from it and just watch it and realize how nuts it is. Realize how, often it changes its mind and how it never freaking shuts up. And realize that if you can hear it, that's because it's not you. Okay, so let's say take 3 objects: a rock, a pen, and a branch. If I'm asking you which one of these is you, none, because you're looking at them, right? So it's the same thing. If you're hearing the voice, you're hearing the voice, so it can be you. So no matter what the objects that I put in front of you are, it's never gonna be you. Same thing as no matter what the voice is saying in your head, it's never gonna be you. So let that sink in for a sec. You're not the voice in your head, you're the one who hears it. So what the voice says is absolutely meaningless unless you give it meaning. The truth is, most of life will unfold in accordance with forces far outside your control. A really, really great example that he gave in the book that was like, whoa, mind blown, is like, if you're sitting at night wondering if the sun is gonna rise in the morning, I don't think that you wondering that is gonna change anything. It's going to rise no matter what, and it's going to go down the next day no matter what. That's just life, right? It's the same thing. Doesn't matter what the voice says, life around you is still gonna happen. Your thoughts about the next day, if it's gonna rain or not, doesn't matter. If you're just hoping that it doesn't rain, it's not gonna change the weather the next day, right? So the real cause of problem is not life itself, is the commotion that our mind makes about life. Now you're probably wondering, why do we even have those voices talking? Like, why do we need them? What's the point, right? Well, there's 2 main reasons. The first one is super similar to, you put those kettles that you have to put on the stove, and once the water starts boiling, it starts whistling. Same thing. It's basically a buildup of energy inside of it, right? So it starts whistling. The same thing as us. Like, have you ever noticed that when you're stressed, when you're angry, when there's just a lot to do, like your mind is like blah, 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 and it does not stop. It's the same thing. It's a buildup of energy, and just the talking releases energy. So you're probably gonna notice, like, when you're calm and you have nothing to do, like the voice is not going to be crazy. But if you're like stressed out and you need to go, or you're late or whatever, and you're just like, the thoughts are everywhere and the voice will not shut up. So this is the first reason. The second reason is basically because we feel the need to narrate the world around us. So what's in our mind feels comfortable, right? Like, we control our thoughts, we can manipulate our thoughts. If you want that voice to say hello right now, it's gonna say hello because you just ask it to say hello. So whatever's in our minds, I feel comfortable. But what's in the outside world, holy crap, you don't control any of that. So narrating it feels like more, it evens out the thoughts and the world out there. Because then, now let's say I'm walking by this tree, right? And then I see the tree, and then I see it's green, then I see there's a bird in it, and then now it's not just a tree. It's a tree that I judged, it's a tree that I labeled, it's a tree that I feel like I have a relationship with the tree, kind of, because I noticed it and I labeled it in my mind. So by verbalizing it mentally, you brought the initial direct experience of the world into the realms of your thoughts. And so like I was saying earlier, it kind of evens it out because your thought about your values, your thought about everything, it just, that feels comfortable in your mind. Now you're thinking, you have thoughts about the outside world. It feels more comfortable. It feels like you have more control over it, even though you don't. It gives you the impression that you do. So that is one of the main reasons that we do this. In the book, he asks us to just take a moment to examine the difference between your experience of the outside world and your interactions with the mental world. Your inner world is an alternate environment that is under your control, right? Not the outside world. So the narration out of the outside world puts the thoughts beside other thoughts, and it makes it more comfortable. So what you end up experiencing is a personal presentation of the world according to you. It basically buffers reality so that you're able to take it all in, and also taking the fact that you have no control over it. Your consciousness is experiencing your mental model of reality, not reality itself. Because, you know, you walk around and you decide to label the tree. You decide to, like, I'm seeing rocks right now, I decide to label the rocks. But there's tons of stuff that I didn't see. And there's a lot more into it, like the reticular activating system and all of that. We're not going to get into that. That has nothing to do with the book. But, you know, what makes it so that you see one thing and you label one thing, or you feel like you want to, like if I see a dog, oh my god, I'm going to be like, oh my god, this dog is so cute, blah, blah, blah. It's a that kind of breed, anyway. You know, I'm gonna like focus just on that because I absolutely love dogs. The thing is, around the dog, there is multiple other things that I did not see. I did not see nothing. I just saw the dog and I got all the puppy cuddles. But you know, that was a mental model of reality because all I saw was the dog, nothing around. A really good example of how it helps us is, like, let's say it's winter and you have to get outside and it's really cold. When you get outside and you're cold, do we really need a voice in our heads being like, oh my god, I'm so cold? Heck no. But it makes us feel like if you say like, oh my god, I'm so cold, well, if the voice say, oh my god, I'm so cold in your head, then it's gonna be like, okay, the car's just there, like I just gotta get to the car, like it's not that bad. And you just start talking to yourself and making it better, right? So you're just buffering what's happening to make you last all the way to the car. So basically, it does feel like you have control over the experience. In that example, and in most of the time, we use our mind as a protective mechanism. So true personal growth is basically about transcending the part that is not okay inside of you, that needs the voice to talk to help it feel better. And you can achieve that by just remembering that you're not the voices, because you can hear it. You can hear them. So it's not you, and what it says is meaningless. It could be anything, it doesn't matter, because it's not you and you don't have to listen to it. So always remember that. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Talking about this stuff doesn't come naturally to me. It's always a stretch, so I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, make sure that you hit the like button, the subscribe button, and then the bell notification so that you get the notification the next time I post, and then you can get the notification for part 2 of this series.